What's up, guys? I'm back. It's your girl Chris. On the last video, I talked about how to get your complete covering back from God. Okay, and the way I said to do that was to sever the ties between people who are not of God, who are unequally yoked. Because even though you renounce Satan, you didn't renounce all the other people that you have soul ties with. See, a soul tie connects you to a person, and that connection allows demons to pass from one person to the other. So let's call that an open door. So if there is still an open door to your life, the enemy still can attack. Okay? So you have to close all of those doors, all of those. And soul ties are physical and emotional. Physical being through sexual actions, and emotional meaning you just have an attachment, a bond, like a father daughter bond, a mother son bond. Okay, and that's why the enemy's plan and job was to procreate with you, is to have children with you. Okay, to connect for the soul ties, okay, to keep you open. That's why, let's say you are a daughter, and you were born in a generational curse, and you want to give your life to Christ, and you have done that, but you're still open to the attacks of the enemy because you still have this soul tied to your mother or your father. Let's say your mother, you still have this soul tied to your mother, who is keeping you in bondage to sin through your love and loyalty for her. That's why you have to close the door on her, because you'll be unequally yoked. You have to close the door on every relationship that is unequally yoked. Okay? And also, soul ties work on vows that you make, verbal vows, spoken vows. You have to renounce every spoken vow that you've made, and you replace words. Don't dissolve. Okay, so you replace those words with vows unto God. Okay? Okay, give your life to God. Give your vessel over to God. All right? That's what you have to do. That's important. That's why in those meetings, when you go to those meetings, you'll be probably saying, pledges and all kind of foolishness, and maybe taking, what we call them, communion for the devil and all kind of things. Renounce all of that. All of that. Okay? So this video is about how we're going to dismantle, destroy Satan's kingdom. Okay? We are keeping in mind that the devil are demons. Demons are low vibrational, so they need the energy source, the light from God's people. So the same job that the enemy had you on when you were in bondage, okay? When you were in bondage to sin, your job was to find, kill, steal, and destroy. Kill your brother and sister in Christ's spirit. Why do you kill their spirit? Because you were swapping your brothers and sisters' destiny for material gain. Your ancestors who put you in bondage, okay, they were ignorant. They weren't smart enough to know that they sell your birthright to wealth, to become a butler to the Gentiles. Okay? So now, as the butler, you bring your sister, a brother, who is not in bondage to sin. The butler brings, right? You bring your sister or brother, whatever family member who y'all see is say, oh, they chosen. You give them over their destiny. You destiny swap, okay, with the Gentiles. And some of y'all destinies, the thing about it is, all of, or we who love God and accept Jesus Christ, right? All of the Israelites are chosen. So y'all be buying your own. You supposed to have your own. Okay. It's all about talents. Okay? Why you have to kill a person's spirit is because the destiny swap is not complete until the spirit is killed. Because when God blesses children, he most likely gave them more than one talent. Okay, so if that individual decides to persevere in life, let's say this person over here in the generational curse, and they give their sister, destiny swap their sister with the enemy, right? But now they gotta kill that person's spirit for the job to be done, for the job to be complete. Okay? So where they don't get you in a childhood, they try get you in a marriage. Okay? Anyhow, but I trying to figure out a way to say this. For example, let's say you have a singer, somebody who wants to be a singer, right? They go and they sign a deal with the devil, right? The devil is let them destiny swap with somebody who destiny was to be a singer, all right? But guess what? They already had that talent in them to be a singer, but now when they sign the contract, they destiny swap with someone else, that which didn't make no sense because they had their own. Okay, but because they probably was in bondage, they thought they had to destiny swap with somebody else. Okay, God gave the talent. God don't take back talent. Their talent was still intact. They didn't have to destiny swap. Okay, so let's get back to these demons, keeping in mind that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against these demons. These demons low vibrational. That's why they need the energy from God's people. Okay, so the whole Moses scenario of freeing the slaves from the Egyptians had people in slavery. It wasn't about the necessary need for things to be built. They was making them build all kind of foolishness. It was about the oppression because they were being powerful. Demons now, they were being able to be powerful through the oppression, the energy swap that was happening. That is why Christopher Columbus traveled to third world countries, the gold mine of where God's people were. And what did he bring? What did he do when he come? He raped, he enslaved. There, what it was? Oppression. He applied oppression to make himself stronger, to make their people stronger in power. Okay, and then what they did, he brought law into a place where there was no law, where it was lawless now, to take complete possession and ownership of a place that he did not own. Okay, so let's take Haiti for instance. Haiti, fought for their independence, right? Now, because now we dealing with law now. They come and bring the law where there was none. So Haiti fought for their independence and they won, okay? But then end up going in debt because they had to pay reparation to the people who they got freed from, independence from. Now, they struggled because they was trying to borrow this and that to try and pay these reparations. So reparations is something that you have to pay. They had to pay because they are the one that started the war. So they had to pay out the people, the losing team, for them having to go to war and all that foolishness, right? Yeah. So hence poverty came in. See, God didn't call his people to be the borrower. He said that you are the head and not the tail, the lender and not the borrower. Whereas places like Haiti, the Bahamas, Jamaica, all these third world countries, God gave you all the resources to be self-efficient. My thing about it is, right? I think the people need to be paid the reparation, okay? Because they came and hurt, they came and take over. And there wasn't no fight because these godly people, or however, or whatever, let's just say the godly people, they ain't had no stuff to go to no war, no equipment and thing to go to no war. However, whatever, some lawyer, y'all try to figure that out. But the moral of this story is that you are in a good position. God's people are in a good position because you know the system. It's all fine and dandy because you're in a good position. Those from bondage to sin, you are in good position because you know the system. Usually God always puts the person in the position to learn the system, okay? Joseph learned the system of Potiphar's kingdom and all this different, however the story go, and that, okay? Moses learned the system of the Egyptians. Okay? He puts you in a position to learn the system so that you can be victorious in overtaking the system. So, with you being living a life in bondage to sin, working as the butler for the enemy, you know how the enemy, you know how your brother and sister got away. How did they get away from you as the oppressor? They cut ties with you from siphoning their energy. Okay? So this is what the people of God has to do. You have to cut ties. Now listen to me. Let's go back to the Haiti story and ting and ting and ting and ting. Notice that only countries that thrived, the only third world countries that thrived were countries that started doing tourism. Huh? With the Gentiles. Okay? Because the Gentiles were throwing you a bone by coming and visiting your land, looking at you. Scripture says, one of the curses said that you would be an astonishment for these Gentiles, that they was going to basically come and check on you and stuff like that. Okay? So the only thriving countries were countries that were doing tourism, whereas your masters was showing you a bone for being butlers, and they would always be able to take that away from you. Okay, they had their foot on your necks. Third world countries, why y'all think the government system can't get it together? Simple processes. It's so complicated to do anything with government because the government itself is running off a system of oppressing its people and selling birthright. Countries where people were selling their brothers and sisters' birthright, being a butler and saying, I get one in my family, here you go, and oppressing the people in general. Okay? So we have to put a stop to that. Countries, third world countries, please, God has given you all the resources to be self-efficient. Let's be self-efficient in this season. We have to go back to farming and all those other ways, things like that, where we was making money and sustaining ourselves. We cutting ties with the enemy. The enemy are anybody who want to serve other gods, because God died on the cross for anybody who want to come to him and be saved through Jesus Christ could be saved and could become a child of God. Okay? So we're severing the ties with the atheists of the other countries in the world. Okay? The atheists and the people who are misleading people with all these other religions. Okay? That does not include Jesus Christ. Okay? Cutting ties with all those people. That's what we need to do. Because why? Remember that time when I heard that, they paid farmers to destroy their crops. And now we're eating a bunch of foods, genetically modified foods, that's given us no little to none nutritional value. Okay? Why? Because they don't want you be in your right mind. They want you to be easy. Malnutrition, a malnutrition person. They want you to be a malnourished person to make it easy for them to throw the bag over your head and keep you captive. These are the last days. Okay? So all of God's people need to come into unity and get rid of Satan's system and dismantle Satan's system and dismantle him by just cutting off his energy source. So now we're not giving people our peace in the work office. We're not allowing people to take our energy, to steal our peace. We closing the door on it, knowing that is the plan of the enemy to feed demons. Okay, so we have to suffocate these demons out, starve them out. Okay, those that were in bondage to sin, you are the best people who know how to how the system works and how to Get rid. You all know how people used to get rid of you, know, effectively. So that's what you have to do. Get rid of the enemy effectively. This is your girl, Chris, from Love Gone Viral. And spread the love. Don't just cut off the energy, but be spreading the love. Okay? See you next time. Does anybody feel like I feel?